Hello everyone, this is going to be one of my authors chats of the week, and I will keep my eye out for my co-host as I kind of situate myself, and we'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between in just a few minutes. I know, like I've said repeatedly, it takes a few minutes for everybody to get notified, so I'll keep my eye out for her, and ooh, I see her right now. Punctual, I love punctual people. Let's see if she sees my invite. Make sure also my sound's up. Hello!
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. I'll turn my volume down.
Okay, you have the most fantastic braids, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That's only if I do them like this. Anytime I tried to braid like behind my head, it does not look this good.
Well, perfect. Hello! And thank you for coming out and joining me this evening, afternoon, wherever you are, because I'm in the Eastern time zone, so it's...
I am too.
Okay, so it's a little evening for me. But thank you for doing this, and it's pretty casual. If people pop in with questions, comments about bookish things, we answer that, or to the best of our abilities, and outside of that, we just talk books. And I always like my co-host of the week, which is you today, to introduce yourself and what you write.
Well, I'm Allison Page. I go by my middle name Paige, and I write spicy dark fantasy. My current books are After the Bees and Through High Waters, and it's about a young woman who's been surviving a demon apocalypse that are based off of fallen angels. She flees into the wilderness for 3 years until a demon finds her, decides that he likes her, and he's gonna keep her. And so he kidnaps her, and they just go on this really dark and twisted journey.
I love it. I love it. It's been a moment since I've had a dark fantasy, dark romantasy author on here. That's great. So what inspired you to write this particular story? Were you a supernatural fan, or like what was it that was like, ooh, I like the concept angels and demons? And
well, in general, like I grew up in church. I still do consider myself a Christian, so angels have always fascinated me. My grandmother was really obsessed with them, and so I think I kind of got it from her. But I'm also an animal and wildlife activist, and so I'm really big on saving the bees. And I just was driving, I was on a road trip one day, and I was just thinking, I was like, what would be the worst thing that could possibly happen if the bees disappeared? I was like, a demon apocalypse would be really, really bad. And so that's the idea that I ran with, and it turned into a whole book, and that book is now a series.
That's great. I love that. And I love the fact that you're incorporating your other passions of like animals and nature and everything, because I actually was a licensed wildlife rehabilitator for a time for the state of Georgia. And so I love animals. I mean, I studied animal behavior in college, and that's one of the reasons why I'm pretty sure all of my fantasy series incorporate some kind of animals or animalistic entities in there. And I was just like, yeah, it's coming through. It's coming through.
I love that. I actually used to work for the Center for Birds of Prey. So we would rehabilitate all the raptors, like the hawks and owls and everything that came in.
Nice, very nice. I love that. Falconry fascinates me, and I know it's a little different than the rehabbing side, but anytime
I would love to do that too.
With, like a raptor, I'm just like, yes, tell me more.
That's so cool.
But okay, so the book you pitched, is that your first? You said the first one of the series? Nice. And how many do you have out at the moment, or are you working on number 2?
So I have book 1 and 2 are currently out. I am actually almost done writing the 3rd book, which is actually going to be the prequel to the series. So my current series is called Revelation, and it's going to follow our main character Leah on Earth. And then the prequel, which is going to be a duology, follows another young woman, and it takes place in Tartarus or Hell, and explains how the demons were able to come to Earth and just wreak all this havoc.
Very nice.
I'm almost done with that first book and the prequel. Like, I will finish it this weekend, and I'm so excited.
That is exciting. I mean, I I love that feeling of accomplishment when you finish a book, but it's also strange because it's like, okay, that's over. I guess I should start the next one.
No, because that's what I was saying. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, I'm almost done. I can take a break, but I'm like, I have two more books to write. Like, I can't take a break.
No, no, that is a blessing for an author because not everybody has that where you always have the next story already ready to roll, and it's nice when that works out that way. So for you as a fellow series writer, do you know how many books are going to be in your series, or are you just going to write until you're like, okay, I'm done, this is it?
Um, so the original plan was my current series was going to have three books. The prequel was only going to be two, but when I wrote the second book, when I wrote Through High Waters, I wrote a new side character in, and she doesn't have a big part, but she's pretty important, and I just have not been able to stop thinking about her. And in the back of my mind, I just keep thinking about her story, and I've been giving her more backstory, and I was like, she needs her own book. And so there's a possibility that the Revelation series, the first three, will be one character, and then I think the next couple books will follow her story. So like keep it going, but then change it to different characters.
Hey, that's great. That is more and more popular. At least it feels to me when I talk to other authors, the fact that you develop your world and you write maybe mini trilogies, duologies, standalones, but they all build out, I've used their example of the Grishaverse, the Six of Crows, and the Shadow and Bone ones because they're all different characters, but they're all fitting in the same world. Some of them overlap, etc., so on, and that seems to be, you know, a fan favorite because fans get to stay in that universe, that world as long as possible, and especially if you get a focus on a new character. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it wasn't planned because I have other book ideas, but I feel like the story idea as far as the angel side of things like isn't finished yet. And so I don't know. I'm hoping that I can wrap up this main part at least and then maybe release a couple of other stories in between before revisiting this angelic world.
I love that. Hey, that is really cool, and getting both sides of the story because that's neat. Having the demon side and the angelic side, and having readers try to figure out what their favorite is.
Oh yeah, and everyone is morally gray or morally black. Like even the angels, like no one is truly good. They're good in the sense that they're doing the right thing, but depending on which side you're on, like they could actually be the villain in the story.
Hey, I like watching adult cartoons and anime and Has Been Hotel. Morally, I like the idea of morally black, morally gray, morally black. You know, whatever side they all have their flaws. But that's really cool. So, on your journey as a writer, let me ask you. So, how do you like to meet and find new readers? Do you do face-to-face? I think you do. But do you do face-to-face events? And, you know, where do you like to reach out to new readership?
Um, so I'm definitely getting better at it this year. I have not, I'll be quite honest, I'm not great at marketing. um, but I typically just reach out to readers online. I try to find people that are really into dark fantasy because I think a lot of people get confused with my work. They're like, oh, she said it's spicy, so it's dark romance. And it's not romantic. There's a lot of lust in it, there's a lot of heavy and dark themes in it. And so it's kind of a niche, not just genre, but subject matter in and of itself. So I think it's a little bit more difficult to find readers. So I kind of just try to approach people carefully. I did have a big signing last week. I went to Starfall Ball in Colorado.
About that.
I was so excited. That was my biggest event ever. And because I've done small signings and I've met people, which has been great. But this event, I don't know, it just kind of opened my eyes of what signings are supposed to be and like how I can reach new people, because I feel like even at the smaller signings, I don't know if this will sound cheesy, but I don't know, it just wasn't like as magical and as hyped as this. And so the crowd just seemed a little bit different. And I was like, all right, I think I need to like really focus on bigger signings, because I sold a lot more than I expected that I would. I was telling people about my story, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I was like, really?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like anytime you go to a place that draws a larger crowd, there's that energy of, constant movement, and there's going to be a whole variety of people, because then there's a lovely thing about smaller signings. You can be a little more intimate, you can talk to people, but once you talk to everybody, then you've talked to everybody. But when it comes to some of these bigger events, I can see, with just so much going on and a constant, come and go with potential new readers, that can be very exciting.
Yeah.
I don't,
How do you do with new readers?
Well, the funny thing, I'm going back to the signing for just one second. The funny thing about that is I'm hoping to start doing larger signings towards the end of this year. We'll see if I get accepted into some of the cons that I know I'm a panelist at, but I don't know if I'm going to be selling it, because those are two different applications. So we'll see. But so that's why I'm always picking people's brains about what did you do? How did you set up? I'll probably come back to this a little later on, but for me, yeah, I do platforms like this. Book Talk has been fantastic to reach people, and even doing the things like lives here, I've constantly met new people who jumped on and chimed in and said hi and continue to follow and support going forward. But yeah, I'm always learning, constantly learning, trying a bunch of things, being present on a variety of platforms. And again, I theoretically believe it's smart to start small and master whatever you're going to do and then expand, versus I always do everything the wrong way, try to do everything at once. Mine is Book Talk. That one took me a while to join. So doing everything backwards. We'll get there eventually.
One day.
One day. But yeah, back to your signing. So I do want to know, did you just bring your books? Did you have like a little display? How did you catch people's eye? Did you dress in costume? I could see that with your...
I did not dress up in costume. I did have a big banner I'll show you my second book, a banner. And so it was just her. And people were just like, who is that? And my name was on the top. And so, because there were a lot of bigger indie authors there, and so they were like, well, who's she? I had my books. I had a ton of character art, because I grew up, I'm a very imaginative person, and I thought that it was normal to imagine like faces and details of people, and that's not true. A lot of people can't picture faces in their head. And so I made sure that I had character art of everyone, and that helped a lot in drawing people in, because if people were walking by, they'd look and then they back up and they were like, well, who's this hottie? Who's this badass with the sharp things? I don't know what I can say on this app. And so character art really, really helped. And then I also make polymer clay earrings. And so I had like little bookish and dragon fantasy earrings on the other side of my table that drew a lot of attention as well.
I love that. Okay. I need to get into more, I had to expand on my character art. One, I haven't really put a lot of money towards that budget to hire, a professional artist. It's funny because I'm an artist, but a very different kind, so it doesn't translate, but I do know I need to go get more, because those are visual things that people are drawn to. And on kind of a note on you, I saw a question coming up asking, will Blanca be narrating your second book?
Yeah, and like I answered, she will. I actually, just because she narrated my first book,
Is
amazing.
it Blanca Rappy or a different Blanca?
No, same girl. Yep. She's so sweet, and her voice is perfect. Like, as soon as I heard her, I was like, oh my gosh, she is Leah. She is my main character. I actually spoke with her last week about when we wanted to do the second book. It's probably going to be sometime next year, because right now trying to finish writing my first book. I'm also publishing an anthology that has 18 other authors in it with me. It's going to be my first book under my publishing house. And so just like throwing an audiobook in with that, I was just like, I can't do that right now. And I think we're going to host a Kickstarter for that audiobook as well.
Good. I'm glad. I love when people take advantage of Kickstarter. I've started doing that, not specifically funds for audiobooks, which would be smart, but for just in general launches and maybe down the line a special edition. But yeah, I like also converting my books into audiobooks. And if you're Blanca Frappia, she's one of my narrators for my young adult Portal Fantasy series, and she's absolutely fantastic. I love her.
I love her so much. I brag about her all the time.
So do I. And the funny thing is, we just released an audiobook together for a second book of that series, and I now have to go to reach out to her because I know she books out, and I'll be like, so when can I get in for the third one? Let me make sure I'm not forgotten, because everybody seems to now know about her now that she's becoming a very recognizable voice and face.
And I love that. Like, I'm so excited, but I'm also like, I want to keep her for myself. But I'm so excited that more people know about her because she's just fantastic.
Oh yeah, and she's the sweetest to work with, and does an incredible job making your characters come alive. But talking about characters, so when it comes to your story, anytime I hear something that has romantic, even underlining themes, I typically think there's going to be at least 2 points of view, but that's not always the case. So how many points of view do you like to write in your books?
Typically 1, and I write in first person. That being said,
1, not in first person.
For the prequel, I have several point of views. It's multiple. The 2 main are male and female lead. They will be first person, and then everyone else will be third.
Nice.
So it's been new to me. I don't know how it's going to be received. I know, or at least I've seen a lot lately that people don't care for multiple point of views, and I was like, well, that's just how it's gonna be.
I think it really also depends on the genre. Like certain genres, epic fantasy, a lot of people expect huge cast of characters and so a number of point of views. And I write into the epic fantasy bracket, but I do a single point of view, which is different, and it kind of goes against what people usually expect when it comes to, a big sweeping epic with a huge cast. So, I think, as an author, you just have to do right by your stories. So whatever feels right by you, you do it.
Honestly, the characters just have a mind of their own, and they're like, this is what we can do. And I'm like, all right, I'll write it down, and we'll just see what happens.
I understand that there are definitely some strong characters that I've written or tried to write out of a story that kept coming back, and I was like, come on, you're taking over. Hold up. Maybe I need to write a side story about you and calm you down. But
Yeah.
So when it comes to your stories, and now I know that you have like all different kind of like sub-series potentially bracketing off and everything. So who is and I know I hate to ask this question because I hate when people ask me, who is your favorite character? See, it's a horrible question. It is the worst.
I have 2. The one is the male love interest in my prequel. But to just talk about the series that's currently out would be who is our morally black character and what some people believe is the love interest. He's not. He's just he's very good at deceit and manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's my favorite because it's just so interesting how readers react to him. He's evil and he's very clever. he's very, very smart, and I have readers that are like, I hate him. He's awful, he's evil. They're like, but why do I love him? Why am I obsessed? And I love that they have this conflict about him, and he's just so much fun to write.
That's great. And that's the thing, is writing these dimensional characters that people have mixed feelings for, because they're not the simple. They're not, the average Joe that you're like, oh, the hero doing heroic things. Of course we expect that, or the villain doing villainous things, but it's something that gives it some kind of dynamic twist where people are just drawn to, like, I don't know how to feel, or I feel this way, but then I also feel the opposite way at the same time.
It made me feel like I was doing something right. I was like, good, you're confused. That's what I wanted.
I want you to ponder over this character. I
Yes,
want you to, like, continue to come back over and over again.
exactly.
So, what was it that made you decide to sit down and say, hey, I'm going to write a book today? Because uh, everybody has the different spark. Or sometimes there are people who are like, oh, I always knew, because I feel like that was me. I was like, I always knew I was going to write. I just didn't know how or when or whatever. I just knew. I was a child and I knew. But what got you motivated enough to be like, I'm going to sit down and write a book?
It was actually one of my friends. I so oddly enough, the prequel that I'm working on now, I got the idea for in 2007. Like I was still in high school, and I was telling her about, like, I had it written down in notebooks and like on Word, and I was telling her about it just randomly one day. I don't even know how it came up, and she was like, "Oh my gosh." She was like, "You have to actually write this." She was like, "I've never heard anything like it." She was like, "That's a really unique story." And I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe." But she was the first person that I had like voiced this story to, or voiced this love of writing that I was secretly like keeping, or not secretly keeping, I was like more quiet about.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Like, she thinks this idea is really neat. I wrote the prequel, didn't really care for it, wrote After the Bees immediately after, and I put it up online. I can't remember which forum it was now, just to see if other people thought my writing was good. In 1 month, it got over 3,000 reads, and people
Wow.
loved it. And so I took it down immediately. And I was like, all right, I think I can do something with this. And she was just kind of rooting for me the whole time. And I really owe it to her, because I'd probably still just be writing for myself, to be honest.
Now, who did you dedicate that first book to? Now I want to know. Was it her? Did you dedicate it at all, or?
Yeah, so she is mentioned in it. I also mentioned a couple of my friends. One of my best friends, he has another friend that I'm now friends with, who's a really big reader, and he was like, "Hey, I was telling Josh about this, and he thinks it's so cool and wants to talk to you about your book." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And so started talking to him about it, and then him and I just clicked, and we're bouncing ideas off of each other. And so he really helped me like polish the story. And really during this time of writing and polishing After the Bees, I had so many people come into my life that were so supportive that I've never really experienced. And so they were just kind of encouraging me. And my boyfriend now is actually one of those, like, we started out as friends, and he was like, "Well, I don't like that kind of stuff. That sounds scary." He's like, "But I'll support you." And
Oh.
he's still here. He's been doing that from day one. And so I dedicate it to quite a few people, as well as
That's
the
sweet. I
second
love
book.
that.
They've just been in my corner the whole time.
Well, and that's a blessing, because not everybody has that. Some people have to kind of flounder, feel and probably feel like they're on their own. So it is such a nice feeling when you have a support system, be it one very strong advocate to a whole slew of people, a whole network. So that is such a nice thing to have, because I can say from personal experience, trying to figure out how to publish a book, especially the first time, it's a lot. It's overwhelming. There's so many things to consider, and the way it was published, the publishing world was back in 2016 and slightly before that, to the way it is today is drastically changed even so. And it's a lot to try to keep up with and learn and know and figure out.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to have them. I will say, like, publishing my first book, I did not do everything that I should. I definitely did a lot more with the second book, but I had planned a release party, and 5 days before the event is when the pandemic hit and they shut the whole state down.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
And so I was like, okay. And it kind of bummed me out. And then, but I was still working. I was working as a vet tech. And so I just kind of let like the annoyance and like disappointment of everything like get to me. So I really didn't market my first book as much as I should have.
I know that
Um,
feeling.
yeah. But the second book did a lot better. And then right before that, like I finally made a TikTok and I was like, all right, let me see what it's all about. I keep hearing that marketing's really good on TikTok, and that really helped revive my first book and then introduce my second book to a lot of readers as well.
That's great. And did you do a release party for the second book?
Yes,
Yes.
I actually had it on my birthday 2 years ago. And I rented out a bar in Charleston, South Carolina, and I had a
I'm meeting so many Charleston authors back to back, I feel like.
really?
Yes.
Who else have you had?
Okay, well now you're gonna call me on the spot, and I'm not gonna say all their names, but
Message me later,
Drew
'cause now I'm curious.
Bailey and see, now I'm calling off the spot. I'll have to go look through my list because only a few weeks ago, now this is how bad my brain just froze. But yeah, there's been a number of them just back to back. I feel like talking to, so that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
See, I need to go up to. I keep saying, I said it to the last two. I was like, y'all need to figure out how to do some kind of big bookish event. I've heard that they have a few, but they're still relatively, I guess, considerably small in comparison. You need to do something, and I'll totally drive up to support you or participate since I'm not that far away in Georgia.
Oh yeah, that's not far at all.
Stone throw. Yeah, sorry, you were sitting at a bar. You're doing your.
um, yeah, it's good. So I went with everyone eventually because everything I did for this release, I was supposed to do for the first release. So I got very, very lucky that the bar owner, my DJ, and one of my photographers, they kept the same rates for me instead of giving me their new increased prices since everything got canceled with the pandemic. So that was great. Saved me a lot of money. But I was honestly again just thinking maybe my close friends would come, which was gonna be fine. I was like, because we have the bar. I baked for my birthday, so I baked a cake. I baked specialty cupcakes and cookies and everything. I was like, so we're gonna have sweet, we're gonna have alcohol, we're gonna have music. Like it's gonna be fine.
Yes.
There so many people showed up. People were dancing. They sold me out completely, and the bar they said had one of like their best nights in like months. So I was just like, that's awesome.
No.
I was like, all right. I was like, well, we might have to come back next release. I had also invited a couple of vendors in attendance with me. So I had a girl selling some candles, another girl that does like witchy wood burning and resin work, just kind of like people that would fit a similar theme.
Matic, yeah.
And so again, that went much better than I anticipated. So the next one, I would like to make it bigger and potentially invite like other authors to my release and other local vendors.
Nice. That would be cool. Because I do think like authors want to help you support each other, and I feel like a number of us are constantly looking for something to do, a new thing to try, and I can see you getting more and more authors to come out and support you and build out your event.
Yeah, which would be cool, and then maybe we could like turn it into like an actual like event itself versus like just a release thing. So
But it doesn't hurt, you releasing at that event.
I mean, yeah. But I am a pantser, so I can't always guarantee I will have a book with every event.
That's true. That's true. That's fine. That's fine. I was gonna ask that too. I was like, do you plan? Are you a pantser? Are you the planter? The one in between, or what do you? But yeah.
I kind of plan. I always write my endings first. Like that's the first thing that always comes to me. I'm like, okay, this sounds great. Now I need to do everything else to get to there. Um, I have a scenes written down on my phone. I have a journal. And then I also will write on my computer, but everything on my phone and stuff, I'll usually just copy and paste those notes into my manuscript and just try to piece everything
I
together.
love that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
It's really messy, but it works.
Hey, no, I do a little bit of both. So I'm kind of the planter. You plant the seed and let it grow kind of person. So I definitely like to have some kind of template, some outline, but I'm okay if, it kind of writes itself to an extent. But I also okay, and I told people this, like if you have that scene or that dialogue or whatever it is that you can't get out of your head and you're afraid you're going to lose it, pause what you're working on, write it down, and then go back to your work. And you can plug it in later because I call them rolling pages. Depending on the series, some of them go like 14 or 15 pages below my working chapter because they're all the little snippets, the scenes, the idea, the conversations that I just kind of blurt it out, and I'll get to it when the time comes, and then you cut and paste.
Yeah, I just had to pull a dialogue. Like my scene changed. I was like, all right, I don't need any of this, but like just a couple sentences like of this dialogue. I was like, but that's really, really good. I got to save this for later, so I just like saved it in another folder.
Hey, that's great. And you never know you're going to use it again for this book, or depending on what it is in the dialogue or the scene or whatnot, maybe something you use in another book. But yeah, have your save folder, have your save copies.
I have so many.
Your rejected scenes in one book might be perfect for another, so you spent the time. So have you ever dealt with the dreaded, now I'm going brain freeze. Oh my goodness, I can't even think. It's okay. It's weird. I was doing some weird. I was very proud today because I was creating book discount bundles for my website because I sell direct. And actually talking about selling things, where can people find and get your books? Like, are you exclusive to Amazon? Are you wide? Do you sell direct, sign copies, stuff like that? So where can people get your books?
I do sell on Amazon. That's probably the best place. I opened a TikTok shop here, but honestly, nothing's happened, so I'm probably gonna remove it. And I also sell signed copies directly on my website.
Very nice. Yeah, I've noticed that, at least for me, I have my TikTok shop, but for whatever reason, it doesn't like to talk to my website, and so it hasn't updated the latest books, which is irritating for me, and because of limitation, it doesn't distribute ebooks or audio or anything like that. So I like to have it because every so often I'll mention it, and if I mention, the algorithm will boost a video, but more often than not, people will still buy through my shop. They'll be like, oh, I saw you on talking about on TikTok, but I'm going to buy through your website shop. And I was like, that's fine. It's still a sale. You still get the book. It's come signed. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love signed copies. So do you sign your copies? You said you had them on your website. Do you sign those? Yes. See, I feel like there are a lot of people who look for that. They're like, that's great. That's what I want.
Yeah. I know. I love signed copies. I actually just got, I don't know it's a pretty new book, but it's by Ivy Ophelia, The Poisoner.
I do not have that one.
She's like a brand new indie author, and it's about like a poisoner and a vampire and everything. It's like a really dark romance. I knew it was going to be good, like, as soon as I saw her promoting it, so I bought, like, her first book signed, and then she just came out with a special edition. I was like, obviously, I'm going to get that one, too.
Yes. See, it's the special editions. That's what I want to do at some point, is come out with a special edition. I have one completed series, and I'm like, maybe I'll bump that idea up in my long list of plans for my authorship career, and create a special edition would be cool.
Yes, I do have plans for a special edition of my current series. Ideally, I am going to complete the 3 books, put them in one, but the way the third book is going to end, all my readers are going to be so mad. I can't wait. I'm super excited. So I'm going to add a fourth book or a novella in that special
Ah,
edition that's going to give them something just a little extra that you will only be able to get in that special edition. But that's way down the road. I want them to be mad for like a while at the ending before they get that the satisfaction
brilliant.
of the fourth one.
Brilliant. And see, that would be perfect for like a Kickstarter run, an exclusive limited run special that you may not need the limited run, but like fun for it. But like come out with your special edition and say, hey, if you buy the omnibus version, you get the bonus novella
Mhm.
only in the omnibus version.
I promise y'all will want this.
You need this in your life. No, that's great. So actually, I think you pretty much roundabout answered this question, but what formats are your books in? And I'm asking these questions because if this platform is nice, I'll repurpose this video onto my YouTube channel and put your links below. But what formats are your books in?
Right now, it's just ebook and paperback. The first book is available on Audible, though.
Yay!
I haven't done hardback books because I mean they're like 200, like under 300 pages. I'm like I just don't think they're big enough to be hardbacks, like in my opinion. Um, so again, that's kind of why I'm like I'll just wait till I get everything together and then do the Omniverse like a big hardback.
Oh yeah, I get that. Oh, I have one series and they're novellas, my Dark Viking fantasy series, and they're aimed for adults. But because they're novellas, I release them individually as ebooks, and then when I get a set of 4, that's when I bundle them into a printed omnibus and do the paperback and hardcover and all that. Just because I like a decent sized spine. I don't want them to look disappear on the bookshelf, especially from a distance. So I understand that feeling, and I get that. I get that. The thing of my hardcovers, since I print through Amazon's platform, they don't come with the dust jackets, which I've discovered recently. Not everybody likes dust jackets. I was shocked. I thought everybody was going to be upset that it didn't have them, but some people are okay and like the print covers. So, uh, eventually, again, special edition. Maybe I'll do a dust jacket just because it's a special edition.
Yeah, I like dust jackets. I
Me
think they look
too.
cool.
Me too. It's just they're just an extra fee, and it's a little more expensive to put out, and that cuts into profit. And oh, the woes of author.
So expensive. So
It is.
expensive. That's
Well,
like the one thing, like, I understand it as a reader, and people are like, oh, the book is how much? Because I'm like, you know, sometimes I don't want to spend like $20 on a book, but also at the same time, I'm like, do you know how much money and sweat and my soul that I put into this?
when I started releasing books, and then considered like figuring out the ebook thing, it broke my heart how cheap essentially ebooks were, and I'm like, I spent years on this and you want me to charge what? What? No. But I've gotten over that. It's just, but yeah, it's one of those things that we spend years and years on it. Someone can read it and a matter of hours or a couple days or whatnot, and it's just like but that
Yeah. Like
there's a
I
lot of
definitely
effort into this.
I see both sides of it, but I'm in a couple of like the book Facebook groups, and I saw someone they're like somebody's selling an ebook. It's like $10. Like it's just a digital file. I don't understand why it's so expensive. I'm like, I hear like what you're saying. I was like, but it's not just like you're getting a whole story compared to the if you spent $30 for like this physical book or something. Like
May I tell you how much I spent on editing and cover design and and. But yeah, no, I get it both ways, and that's why one of the reasons why I did these book bundles that I just created today, because going to offer them at a reduced price in a large group. But it is one of those things. It's hard. It's hard to like find that middle ground and be like, I want the readers to be happy and want to get the book and can afford to get the book, but I also want to pay my bills. Thank you. Have a
yes.
nice day.
Yep.
What do you think is the hardest thing about being an indie author?
Marketing.
That's a tough one.
I say that just because I'm really bad at it.
It's okay. I think the bulk of us would agree marketing slash advertising is hard. Some people have that like either the good luck or figure it out or have the know-how.
Mhm.
And other people, we flounder. We do. It's okay. We flounder together.
I try and I'm just like just gonna keep trying. All I need is just one video to hit.
Hmm.
And then I'll kind of take care of everything else. So I'm like, I'm just gonna keep doing my thing until hopefully that one just takes off.
See, what I want to consider, it's another one of these future projects. I don't have what they call a street team. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, they're essentially your avid readers who love you so much, they're willing to spend some time promoting you. And depending on how you run them, you can give them digital copies of like images or post text or whatever. And on their socials, they talk you up. And it's really, really cool. And you give them free goodies and then they distribute. And I'm like, that's maybe something I need to like start building a street team. Those cheerleaders who like, talk about it all. I think that would be kind of neat. I just haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I that's definitely something I want to look into as well. Because I know that I have like really like loyal I have a loyal fan base. Like they're small, but they are mighty.
That's
And
what I need. That's
and
what I
they get
need.
so excited about everything. I'm like, I need to do something for y'all. I need your help.
Mhm.
um, I also considered that hopefully when things get a little bit bigger, I've seen some authors that do like the Patreon to
Mhm.
where like you sign up and then like you get new art like
I got
every
one for you then.
every
Because
month or like you get short stories and stuff. So I like that idea as well.
have you heard of Reem yet? Reem. So
No.
that one's essentially an Patreon, but it was created by authors and readers for authors and readers. So it's just bookish stuff, but it's the same kind of thing. And one of I think the core ideas, I'm not sure it has to be standard. It's standardized because it's something I'm starting to look into as well. All these to-do projects is the fact that you may write a book, and while you're writing the first draft, you're sending your Ream supporters just the first draft for them to read before anybody else, and then maybe the next level is quarterly. You send them a character art, and the next level up, and it's again Patreon, but specifically for books. And I'm like, huh, now we're talking.
I'm gonna put that in my search engine so I can look at it later.
Yes, yes. Do it because I've heard more and more authors getting on board with it and they're talking it up. And it's something that I'm like, okay, again, all these ideas that I have, I'm like, what do I tackle first? I need to have an order and a structure and then dedicate to it, or else I'm going to keep getting sidetracked by the other thing I want to do.
And see, that's me. Yeah. Like if I do anything like that, like I have to have a plan or a calendar of
Mhm.
when I'm giving things out and what exactly that's going to be.
And the calendar can change. I get that. But yes, I am definitely a planner. And so I have like all different forms of it spread around my office. I'm like, this is your yearly to dos. This is your monthly goals and kind of the estimated weeks you're doing. And this is my actual physical planner that has so much written on it that it almost looks like a cryptic document. But yeah, I understand that.
I know I've got a little journal and it's like or a little planning journal and it is full of all the things I should be doing, all the things I actually have to do, and yeah, it's like it's a mess.
Yes, and it gets hard when you have so many things you feel like you have to do that you can't do it all. In the sense of, I know for a little bit, for a while, for almost a couple months, I was bogged down because there were so many other projects of like editing and formatting, and I was running a Kickstarter, so doing all that and making sure I do all the socials, that I realized I wasn't actually writing, and I'm like, but that's a problem. I need to be doing that too. That's kind of why I'm here.
Yeah.
So one of my other questions, since the hour is starting to slip on by, one of the other questions I always want to make sure I ask is, where can people find and follow you outside of Book Talk? So do you have a website? Do you have a newsletter? Are you on any other socials? Where else can people find and follow you? Or is this your world?
Oh no. No, so I'm also on Instagram, which is the same handle, She Writes with Knives. I'm probably more active on that app than anything. The link in my bio in both. I also have an author Facebook group, which I am a little bit more picky about who I let into there just because I want to make sure that they are already a reader and aren't like a spam account or something like coming in. And then I have my website, which is authorallisonpage.com.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, Instagram is something I keep trying to get better at, and every time I feel like I'm starting to get it, either the algorithm changes or something happens, and I'm like, womp womp.
That's how I feel about TikTok, because like I
Oh yeah, I
got
haven't
off of
too.
it for 2 weeks. I had a lot going on. I came back and everything was different. The videos needed to be 10 minutes, and now that's not a thing. And I'm just like, just gonna stick with Instagram and like come here every now and then.
Hey, the thing is, you have to do what's comfortable for you. And when it comes to playing with algorithms, sure, you can play around. But if you're comfortable with 2.5 minute videos or even 30-second videos, do it. It's fine. You'll be okay. The algorithm will change yet again, and all of a sudden you'll be trendy. Wait it out. Anyhow, no, the reason why I like being on this one, as among many things, there are lots of reasons. But one of them is because doing the videos, I'm a person who I love repurposing things. So I'll repurpose these videos on all my other platforms.
That's smart. That's a really good idea.
Because creating content every day, especially multiple times a day, depending on the platform, it's a lot.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I've got to get back into creating content, but I'm just like, oh, I don't have time for it, but I need to make time.
Also, and one of my other author friends, AP Beswick, he religiously does it for himself, and he does very well. He always tells me every time we talk, he's like, don't be afraid of reposting an old post. If an old post did well, maybe slap on new music or just redo it again after a little while, because the way algorithms push, you'll still reach new people every time. So, and that's just like, depending on how you want to download it, to like strip the little logo, because that's the only irritating thing is the download with the logo. Put it back on and do it again.
That's true. That's a good idea.
Yep. Work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. True. Work smarter, not harder. And that's something I'm trying to be better about, because, I would love to be able to be that really cool person who can do everything, but that's possible. So work smarter, not harder. Pick your battles. But yeah, so let me ask, since we're getting close to the final 10 minutes, and this goes for anybody listening as well, is there topic you wanted to cover, Allison, that we didn't cover? Any questions that you have that you haven't asked yet? And again, same for anybody who's listening, because I want to cover everything. I know it's very
I don't know. I feel like we touched on a lot. You're very thorough.
I've done enough of these. It's kind of like when I started doing these kind of chats with other authors, I had a paper sheet of like prepped questions, because I was like, what do we talk about? And I wanted to do the hour thing, and I just didn't know if I was going to make it through. I've done enough, and I'm like, there's actually a lot we could talk about as authors. It's just ebb and flow, or what makes sense.
Yeah. I guess I'll just, for people that are watching, and if you're interested, I currently have ARC forms open for the anthology that I'm publishing, which is dark fiction. So it's going to be horror, suspense, and dark romance. That is by myself and 18 other authors, all short stories. That Kickstarter will be launching next month. And then I also have forms open for my prequel, and that'll be for alpha, beta, and ARC readers.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, I would love to get into, theoretically, let me put that one up. Theoretically, I would love to get into anthologies, because I think it's such a great way for people to cross-promote, and you collect readers, again, depending on the theme or, whatever the collection's based around. There's usually some kind of core relatability between the stories. But I think that would be a great thing for authors to do, because you have cross-promotion, and you catch new readers. Someone's reader that comes in to support them may then discover you, and vice versa. It's a great thing. And so if you ever want another dark fantasy author of your in the future
That was my idea with the anthology, and it's specifically for indie authors because, again, with my experience, like it can be hard reaching new readers.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I think we should do something specifically for indie authors. It gives an opportunity for our fans that are like us to get a special treat and introduce them to new stories and new authors. Um, and we have quite a few people on here, like Ali Shante, Kristen M. Long, a couple of like bigger indie authors. I was really excited to have J. Michael Knight, and I'm so excited because the stories are incredible. Like they are so stinking good. I knew all these authors were really good, but they just blew me away. And so hopefully, if this one does well, I want to do more anthologies in the future that change like the themes and genres like each time. I know I really want to do like a romantasy one. I really want to do one that's mythology based, but everyone would have to pick.
Yes.
But I want everyone to pick like one of the rules would be like not everyone can do like a Greek story because we don't need
Yes.
6 Hades and Persephone stories. So I'm like somebody can do Greek, somebody can do Egyptian, somebody can do Roman. Like you have to do a different story.
Yeah, get creative out there because there are a lot of mythos that don't get enough. Let's call it love. They don't get enough love nowadays because yes, a lot of people jump to Greco-Roman, Egyptian, and then probably the most third popular is Nordic, which I understand. I love that one, but there are a lot of other mythos out there too. By the way. Enjoy it. No, that's fantastic. That's cool. And please let me know how that goes because, again, that is something that is on, again, my running list of stuff I would love to do. I just never think about it. And I want to challenge myself to do more short stories. That would be like another good thing to do.
Yeah, and that's what I like too. Like it definitely challenges writers. Even the story that I wrote, like it was challenging because it was a 7,500 max word limit. So it's like you gotta. Sometimes that's really easy for people, and other times it's really hard. And even I found I was like, I should have made this bigger, but I was like, no, we can make this work. This is what it's gonna be.
Well, I saw a video from one of my fellow author friends, Marshall J. Moore, on here, and he was talking about, you have to look, it's a few days ago, but he was talking about how on the first of the month there is a platform that lists all the open anthologies for writing, like not all of them, but like a number of them that if anybody wants to submit, they're like, here are the requirements, here's the themes, or here's what they expect, and obviously being an anthology, if you get in and all that kind of stuff, you're going to get paid a portion, again, maybe small things, but you get paid for these stories, and that's kind of cool. It's a great way to make sure you get a little extra change if you're great at knocking out a short story here and there. I forget about it, and then I'm like, man, I haven't written a short story in a while, and I really want to give something new to my readers, but when do I?
And that's our goal, or my goal with this Kickstarter as well. Like, we'll have to obviously cover taxes, the printing fees, all that, but I want to pay these authors, and so trying to make sure that we raise enough money to make sure that they get paid a decent amount for all these stories they put their time and effort into.
Absolutely, and I saw a couple comments, and sorry it took me so long to get to them. Emma was saying, mythology stories are amazing, and my universe has different mythologies and gods within it. I love that. This is what I base my fantasy off mythos, too. And then I see another comment asking, who are your favorite indie authors, top ones you always recommend? Do you want to name a few outside of, obviously, there's us. We can always throw our names in the bid, but outside of us, who do you like to read?
The first that comes to mind, because I just finished her second book a couple hours ago, is J.D. Ronan. Her books, A Deadly Vow and A Burning Throne, are high dark fantasy. Mm-hmm. Absolutely genius. I love indie authors, like I am one. I have not come across an indie author that writes with her quality. She is incredible. Absolutely incredible. So detailed. Like her fantasy world, it's very political, very dense, and just mind-blowing. And then the other is R.A. Moreau, and she writes Nubian romance, so has a lot of that Egyptian lore. And the first book that I read of hers is The Fall of Souls. Gorgeous. It was absolutely beautiful story.
I love that. And I guess for me, if I had to like pick a few, and there's a whole bunch, like I've talked with so many people, and I've been fortunate because I collect signed copies to have a growing kitty of some here. But some of the ones that I like to recommend, Jason Duro, if you like. He's a little bit on the epic fantasy side. He writes larger works, but they're not more than just what you think of, like, I guess, epic fantasy. They're filled with intrigue and mystery and heists, and they're very complex storyline with larger cast. And so he's really good. And his first book was Akathar's Greatest Trick. Another one I like, I really enjoy, my friend Marshall J. Moore. If you like the cozy kind of fantasy side, he has a pirate series, which is really kind of just gives you the good feels, and it's about healing and all those warm and fuzzies with a little bit of fantasy undertones and a hysterical twist to a mermaid character. And I guess I'll stop at 3 because I could continue listing for a while. I have Z.S. Diamante. He's great if you like, again, more classical fantasy. So if you think a little bit more Lord of the Rings-esque, but maybe written in a way that's a little more approachable for the modern reader, because his stories and his characters are quick, and they're fun and dynamic, and there's Griffin riders and Wyvern riders and all that kind of fun stuff. So he's a fun one too. But I like fantasy. I like fantasy, so yeah. I have a lot of fantasy ones I can recommend. And again, there are so many people of all different genres on here. I mean, that's a great question to ask, because everybody's going to tell you someone that you may probably never heard before, but you probably should know, because there are a lot of us out here.
Yeah, there's so many. I didn't even think I started reading other indie authors until about 2 years ago, and it's been one of the best decisions I ever made.
I know. It was also hard because before I joined this platform, which has been kind of a couple years, getting close to a couple years, or maybe a little over a couple years, it was hard to find other indie authors, at least in my opinion, because maybe I wasn't in the right groups on some of the other social media. But to find a lot and hear a lot of indie authors, it just was harder. I don't know. It was hard to find them. And because of this platform, I know it's just a great way to connect with other people, new books, new authors, new readers of all sorts, and it's great exposure. I see some comments saying, slowly working through a short story collection full of mythology, gods, mortals, and realms. Perfect. I love anthologies and collections and all that stuff on mythos. And I see another one saying, I just have now 5 new authors to read. Yay. That's what we like.
Heck yes.
We do like. And third comment popping up saying, but also romance too, going back to the other thing about the mythology. It's been hard and challenging it since I never published it. You have never published anything yet. It's hard. It's hard. How? Okay. Let me ask you, because I know we're right at the end of the hour, but let me ask you, Allison, how did you figure out, this is a nebulous question, how did you figure out how to self-publish?
Google was my best friend, because I didn't know anyone. So I knew that indie publishing was a thing. To be quite honest, I was of the mindset that indie authors didn't have much merit to them, but I knew that I wanted my book in print, and so I was going to do it anyways. And I just spent a lot of time researching. Like I said, I didn't do everything that I should have done on my first one. Like, I just strictly did Amazon with my first book. And the second book, I did all the research I should have done the first time around. Got it on Ingram, just looked into different formatting types. I just did a lot of research. Google has everything. And then I did join some writer sites and some indie author groups on Facebook, and that helped to connect me with a lot of people where I could ask more specific questions that people that already had experience.
Yeah, on Facebook, the group 20 Books 50K is like one of those great resources for indie authors, and if you don't know, you should check it out. But like they've talked about everything and anything, and in that group is probably most, I don't know if all, I won't say all, because there's probably most of the big ticket indie authors that bring in the big figures all represented there, and you know, they have the answers, and it's a great resource. But That's pretty neat. Whoop, here's my hour slot where I have to do this little puzzle thing and it weirds me out. Okay, and we are verified that I'm still here and live. I hate that little thing. Why did it have to start this thing? Anywho, but yeah, for me, I thankfully, I knew someone that was doing indie publishing, but again, indie publishing back in 14, 15, 16, very different from today. And there's so many ways you can approach it today, but again, asking questions, connecting with other authors, networking, finding sites like 20 Books, or because there are some definitely other authors on this platform that are so knowledgeable and so helpful with their knowledge that it makes it easier. Not easy,
It's
but
more accessible.
more accessible.
Yeah.
But then the more diverse it becomes, then there's more choices, which makes it maybe not as easy.
It depends. If you get overwhelmed like me and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. When it comes to writing, I'm a little more focused. When it comes to the author projects on the side, I'm like, ooh, shiny. And I'm like, ooh, ream, shiny, anthologies, that sounds cool. Oh, yeah. I want to start selling direct, which I'm almost done tackling. But all these kind of things, it's like, ooh, shiny, must do this. Right. Kickstarter, really cool. Want to do another one, but that takes time planning, so.
Yes. And I did Kickstarter with my second book. It did well, but then I actually had another indie author that saw I did Kickstarter. She decided to do one. She did amazing. Mm-hmm. And so then I was coming back, asking her a bunch of questions, because I said, we're doing a Kickstarter for the anthology. And she was like, well, I just looked at your stuff and I just tweaked some things. I was like, well, you did really good. So whatever you learned from me, now I need to learn from you.
I also have heard from several people that there is kind of not a dead zone, but definitely a harder area on Kickstarter. And that's when it comes to books that are not the first book or standalone, and before a finished series. So when you're like in the middle, which is what I've been struggling with my Kickstarters, is I'm doing a continuing series. People want to either support the first book, a standalone, or complete series. And if you're 2 books in a 9-book series, they're like, we'll wait. So it's a little harder to market those kind of things. So I understand if you're doing a second book, there is some kind of logic to why that may be a little tough.
Yeah.
But hopefully your anthology will do sweepingly well, because that is really cool.
I hope so. I really, really hope so. I mean, regardless, we're going to get it printed. It would just be more manageable if we can do it through the Kickstarter, but I'm super excited for it.
I'm excited. I'm excited for you, and I can't wait to see how it goes, and you know, see all your effort come to fruition, and that's pretty cool, because managing and putting it together, that is a whole other level of work that I'm like, yeah. I want to participate in one. I'm not ready to put one together. Nope.
Honestly, it was probably the worst idea for me to do this. I was just like, that's a great idea. I'm going to do this. In the back of my head, I was like, Paige, you do not have the time and you're high stress. This is a bad idea. And I was like, I'm going to do it anyways.
Watch me. I'm challenging myself. Watch me do this. Oh, that's great. Well, if anybody else has any questions or topics you want us to cover, post them in the next moment or two. But regardless, thank you for again coming out and hanging out with me for this last hour. I always feel like hours kind of cruise on by. It hits a moment, you blink, and it's like, oh, it's almost over.
Yeah, that was quick, but the conversation was really good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And I have been kind of eyeballing your page for a while. I was just like, why don't you just come on and let's hang out?
I was super excited. I was texting my boyfriend. I was like, all right, I gotta go. And he's like, have fun on your live tonight. I was like, I will.
I love it. And like I said, if this platform is nice, and sometimes it's not, but if it's nice, I'll let you know when I do post this and put all your links below. And hopefully in the future, other people will find and follow and buy your books.
That'd be awesome. And
That is so
definitely want
cool.
to, I definitely want to stay in touch with you and stay connected on here because it was great talking to you.
And like I do these weekly, I pay them in advance, but feel free to reach out to me and we can schedule another one. And I just like talking about books.
Sounds good. I'm down.
Can you not tell? I talk
I
books.
know. Can you not see? I
I
just put
know,
up
I
new
like your
shelves because I
angle.
ran out of space. They were all on my floor.
Yeah, and I just see a comment that popped up about your bookshelves saying, dig all those bookshelves you're rocking.
Yeah, they're ridiculous right now.
Hey, it's great. I keep wanting to expand my bookshelves because the more I get, I realize I already have too many books waiting and I still need more shelves.
Yeah, my room is just so small. When I moved into a smaller space and I don't have space for anything. So that's kind of why, like,
I need shelves
I
full.
kept buying more books. Like, I have an addiction. And so I had to keep buying all these little shelves so I can make room or make space for my books. And it's looking ridiculous right
Hey, no,
now.
no. I have this like vision now, and I feel like because there was a show, and I forgot what platform, maybe Netflix, called Hack My Home or something like that. And they come up with all these cool gadgets and ridiculous stuff that you don't really need in a house, but they do it anyways. And one of the things, and I forgot it has a term, but I could see you having like a pulley system, and you do a pulley system, and it drops down kind of a pseudo ceiling, and it's just books. And then you pull it,
I
and it
see
goes
that.
back up.
Maybe that's what I need to do.
And you don't know that they're there. You're like, I thought you had a lot of books. Oh, wait, there's
Yeah,
more.
here they are.
That would be kind of cool. Anyhow,
Yeah.
I saw them do something like that for a kitchen once, and I was like, I want to do this. I don't know how, I don't know where, but it will happen. For my library. Anyhow, well, I need to go and walk the dog, but thank you again for coming out and chatting with me. And again, if you ever want to do one of these, just feel free to reach out at any point.
Sounds good. Thank you again. I hope you have a great evening.
You too, and thank you for everybody else who's chimed in and hung out with us. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.